Murder? Murder, you say? And welcome to the Ruben Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Netflix's original documentary called Murder Among the Mormons. Let me know down in the comments below, have you heard of this? Do give me a thumbs up, it helps huge. Thanks so much for watching this review. But for now, let's jump into it. High-stakes exploits turn deadly and shake a global church to its core in the extraordinary true crime. So the 3 episodes, they're about an hour long, and essentially this is about Mr. Hoffman, who finds very interesting documents when it comes to the origins of Mormonism, and he basically changes the way they look at Mormonism. It can change the very core belief of what it means, and so you have to go through all this authenticity. It's very interesting. You know, it kind of draws you into this investigation for the first episode, and then it definitely changes it on its head for a more sinister, darker theme. And then you get that last episode, which I was thinking, oh, do we even need the last episode? Because we kind of had the reveal at the end of episode 2, but we have that 3rd episode, and you're like, gosh, okay. They're kind of explaining the mindset or the creation, the who, the what, the where, the why, and the how. If you're a Mormon, I'm sure you know about this. For the vast majority of people that are not, I think this will give you an insight into one of the big moments, I believe, in Mormon history where things changed, and it didn't make them look good, but then it came across as, oh, there's this one guy that just seems to be a bit mental. When I say a bit, I mean a lot. The documentary itself is put together really well. I wasn't bored mostly. Like, there are moments in the documentary where they're just kind of, they're padding and they're doing exposition. You've got a lot of interviews and there's recreations. I thought all the recreations were done really well. They really kind of kept to the atmosphere that they were going for. I thought that was very interesting. I like the way they put it together, and you know, they have some real interviews from people that were there, because it's set in 1985. Or there roundabout, a few spanning years, and then you see how the story evolves and becomes darker. You know, if you've seen the trailer, you'll know that there's murder. Obviously, by the title, you see some explosions, and so when we get to that 2nd episode, it really gets darker. But when you get to that latter end of episode 2 and the beginnings of season 3, episode 3, you're like, oh, this is pretty creepy. By the end of it, you're kind of wondering certain things about a certain character. If you don't know the story and trying to keep the suspense there for you, it is definitely worth watching. I do like the way Netflix pour quite a bit of money into their documentaries, and they give people the reins to be quite creative. But when it does come to documentaries, you can't just go in thinking, yeah, it's 100 and completely and true, told in this way. I think there's an air of authenticity here with this story, but it's always on one person's perspective, who's ever put it together. So you kind of got to go into that mindset and going, yeah, are we getting the whole story? I'm not sure, but by the recordings that they've got and first-hand accounts and the interviews, it feels like they've grabbed bits of information and given us the story, and we kind of have to kind of make up our mind, yeah, that definitely happened like that, because of the fruition of the story. I think it's one of those documentaries you can go, yeah, what we've been told is true, especially with what happens at the end, without going into maximum details. I should give you a word of warning though, there's a couple of images that are quite graphic as well when it comes to the murder, because they show some of the crime scenes. It's not like serial killer graphic, but there is definitely death in photographic nature, so if you're easily offended, do bear that in mind. I thought it was very interesting. The story was very well told. I'm not massively into documentaries, but there's a few that will grab me, like Tiger King. I thought was excellent. If you are able to tell a story and keep your viewer going with the story that you're trying to tell, and even though it's a documentary, then I think you've done a really great job. So I'm going to give this a solid B. I thought it was good. I'm glad they didn't stretch it out. A lot of documentaries, especially on Netflix, there's been a few that are great, but they really stretch out. I watched one recently that was 8 long hours, and it really didn't need. They went into all the documents, and you kind of skirt around. It's all about the documents really, and stuff that goes on about them, about, you know, showing new content and saying this is now what we believe because this is now proved to be true. And so we get the whole investigation, which I think is the most interesting part of this documentary. apart from what is revealed, but it's the interesting story, the journey of what we are told is true when somebody authenticates it. It just depends on those people who are authenticating it. You'll see what I mean when you watch it. It's very interesting. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. As a whole, I think the documentary is good. The tone, the pacing is pretty oogie, if that's an actual tone, a special word used. Yeah, definitely worth watching. Not the best, not the worst. Above average B. Thanks so much for watching this, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.